Dawn breaks over the South China Sea. An American carrier group steams east of Taiwan, its radar screens alive with blips. Suddenly, a warning shrieks. A missile is inbound. Somewhere on the Chinese mainland, a DF-21D anti-ship ballistic missile has leapt from its launcher, arcing skyward on a pillar of fire. Within seconds, the battle group's sensors detect the threat. Officers rush to analyze its path, order electronic countermeasures, and ready interceptor missiles. Every decision must be made in moments. The incoming warhead travels at over Mach 10. The crew has a handful of minutes, at best, to defend themselves. This is not science fiction. It is the new reality of naval warfare in East Asia. There is no time for slow deliberation. The vast distances that once meant safety for ships now mean only that the enemy's missiles have more time to accelerate, and less for defenders to react. For today's navies, distance is no longer just about how far you can sail. It has become a weapon that makes every second count, compressing reaction time and raising the stakes of every decision. For centuries, naval power was measured in fleets and freedom of movement. Battleships and carriers ranged across oceans, secure in the knowledge that distance was their ally. In the open sea, time and space gave commanders the luxury of maneuver and careful planning. But East Asia is different. Here, the geography squeezes navies into tight corridors. The Pacific may seem vast, but the key battlegrounds, the Taiwan Strait, the South and East China Seas, are narrow. The shadow of the Chinese mainland looms always nearby. In this environment, the old logic of naval dominance no longer holds. Distance is not a shield. It is a shrinking buffer between threat and response. The time for leisurely decision-making is gone. Instead, the ability to sense, decide, and act in compressed time frames has become the new currency of power. The closer you are to China's coast, the faster the battle unfolds, and the greater the peril for even the mightiest fleet. Look at the map of the Western Pacific. The so-called First Island chain stretches from Japan through Taiwan and the Philippines to Borneo. These islands form a rough barrier just a few hundred kilometers from China's coast. The Taiwan Strait, only about 180 kilometers wide, lies at the center of this chain, a choke point watched by both sides. US and allied navies often operate just outside this line, in the Philippine Sea or near Okinawa. From the Chinese coast to the waters east of Taiwan is less than 500 kilometers. To the Luzon Strait, which connects the Philippine Sea to the South China Sea, is about 800 kilometers from China's southeast. These distances are short by naval standards. In peacetime, ships might cover them in a day. In wartime, they are inside the threat envelope of modern Chinese missiles. Every kilometer closer to shore brings greater risk and less reaction time. This geography creates a dilemma. To support Taiwan, allied navies must move into these constrained waters, exposing themselves to rapid attack. The First Island chain, once a defensive barrier, is now a front line, and every passage is a potential trap. China's missile arsenal has redrawn the boundaries of naval warfare. The DF-21D, known as the carrier killer, has a range of about 1,500 kilometers. Its bigger brother, the DF-26, can strike at ships as far as 4,000 kilometers away, reaching deep into the Philippine Sea. Other systems, like the YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missile, can be launched from ships or submarines up to 500 kilometers from their targets. China's new Type 055 destroyers carry dozens of these advanced missiles, each able to fly fast and low, evading radar. For U.S. carrier groups, these numbers are sobering. There is now no safe haven within the Western Pacific. Even operating east of the Philippines, warships can be targeted in minutes, not hours. Distance, once a protective moat, is now the domain of the attacker. China's missiles mean that navies must operate under a constant cloud of risk wherever they go, inside the first and even the second island chain. Numbers tell the story. The DF-21D's 1,500-kilometer range puts all of Taiwan, the East China Sea, and much of the Philippine Sea within reach. At speeds of Mach 10, about 12,300 kilometers per hour, a missile can cover that distance in roughly 7 to 8 minutes. A YJ-18 cruise missile, flying at Mach 3, which is about 3,700 kilometers per hour, takes less than 10 minutes to travel 500 kilometers. If a carrier group is operating 300 kilometers from China's coast, it has under 5 minutes warning once a missile is launched. This time, compression is ruthless. A ship's radar may detect a missile launch, but commanders have barely enough time to confirm the threat, plot a defense, and launch interceptors. Every kilometer closer to the mainland means seconds shaved off the response window. For defenders, the math is unforgiving. The tempo of the battle is set not by the speed of ships but by the speed of missiles and the shrinking space in which to react. Modern naval defense relies on the kill chain, a sequence of detection, identification, decision, and response. Each link in the chain must work perfectly and fast. In the Western Pacific, compressed distances make this chain dangerously short. First, sensors, satellites, radars, and aircraft must spot a missile launch. Next, computers analyze the trajectory and identify the target. Human commanders must then decide how to respond. Finally, interceptor missiles are launched to destroy the threat. At close ranges, this entire process must happen in minutes or less. There is no room for hesitation or mistakes. The fog of war, confusion, electronic jamming, false alarms can break the chain at any point. Every step is under pressure. Even the most advanced systems struggle to keep up when time is measured not in hours, but in seconds. The closer a navy operates to China's coast, the harder it becomes to complete the kill chain before impact. When missiles come in salvos, dozens or even hundreds at once, defenses can be overwhelmed. Aegis destroyers, for example, have impressive radars and interceptor missiles, but only so many can be fired at once. Reloading takes time and exposes ships to further risk. Commanders now face hyper-speed decision-making. They must weigh the odds, prioritize threats, and issue orders in the blink of an eye. The mental strain is immense. There is little time to consult, debate, or correct mistakes. Layered defenses, radar jamming, decoys, close-in weapons help, but saturation attacks can punch through. Even one missile getting through can cripple a warship. The balance between offense and defense has shifted. The attacker, with longer range missiles and more time to plan, holds the initiative. This relentless tempo is not just a test of technology, but of nerves and judgment. Every second counts. Every missed cue could be fatal. There is another quieter battle in this contest: the economics of attack and defense. Missiles, particularly modern ones, are expensive, but it is far cheaper to launch a salvo than to defend against one. Each interceptor missile costs millions of dollars, and ships can only carry so many. Magazine depth, the number of defensive missiles on board, limits how long a ship can hold out. Attackers can launch multiple waves, forcing defenders to expend their missiles quickly. Once magazines are empty, ships become vulnerable or must withdraw. This imbalance favors the side with more offensive missiles and the ability to reload quickly, usually the side operating closer to home, with access to land-based launchers. The further Allied navies operate from their own bases, the harder it is to sustain defense. Distance, then, is also an economic weapon. It stretches supply lines, empties magazines, and forces hard choices about when and where to risk engagement. Distance does not only matter in open combat. China has mastered gray zone tactics, aggressive moves that stop short of war, like sending Coast Guard or militia ships to harass rivals near Taiwan or in the South China Sea. These vessels operate just miles from sensitive areas, ready to escalate or withdraw in moments. For defenders, this proximity creates a constant crisis. Commanders must decide quickly whether to respond, risk escalation, or hold back. The short distances mean incidents can spiral fast, with little time for political leaders to intervene. These tactics exploit geography and reaction time. The closer Chinese vessels operate to home, the faster they can bring force to bear, and the harder it is for others to respond without risking a major clash. The same time compression that shapes missile warfare also drives gray zone confrontations. Distance is a lever, used to pressure opponents and force snap decisions with high stakes. In the Western Pacific, distance is not just a measure of miles, it is the core factor shaping risk, reaction time, and the potential for escalation. Chinese missiles, sensors, and tactics have turned proximity into a weapon, compressing the decision cycle and raising the tempo of conflict. Every kilometer closer to China's coast shortens response windows, increases the vulnerability of ships, and magnifies the cost of mistakes. The old days of leisurely maneuver and secure seas are gone. Now, technology, geography, and speed set the pace. For military planners, every movement is a race against time. For political leaders, every incident carries the risk of rapid escalation. In today's Western Pacific, distance is the battlefield, and every meter matters. The next naval war, if it comes, will be fought at the speed of missiles and the edge of nerves. In this new era, the map is the weapon, and it is shrinking fast.